name is Antonio Wallace, and I'm recovered from not trusting in God.
Okay. So can you give us your story? Take us from the beginning. When you first maybe met God, and then when you realized, dang, I don't really trust Him.
Okay, so when I met God was at a very young age. I've been born and raised in church. I've been doing church my entire life. Again, I was born in it, but I did not know that I lacked trust in God up until about 7 years ago, when I worked at Ace Cash Express, and individual came in, a young lady. She came in with a check. This was around income tax time 7 years ago. She came in with a check, and she slid the check under the little glass. And I was the teller, of course, and I took the check. So with my over 5 years of training, I could look at a check, smell a check, I could flip it upside down, whatever it took. I knew if a check was fake or not. So while I'm sitting here looking at this check and getting ready to deny her and send her on her way, she slid me $100 bill under the glass. So everything in me was like, this is illegal. This is not right. This is gonna come back to haunt you. But the love of money that I had at that time was saying, take this $100, cash this check, and you'll never have to deal with this again. And of course, that's what I did. So within the course of probably about 2 weeks, at the very same time, I had a set schedule at that time. The very same time, it was like a group of people, and I didn't realize it at the time. But as I was able to think about it, once everything was done, now I could kind of pinpoint. But it was just a group of people coming with these large checks, just coming in. They would give me the check. Again, I know that it was not. It was not their checks. Some of them didn't even have their name, or either their ID that they were providing was like, it looked like a kid had created these IDs, but they were giving me $200, $300, and everything. And that was that red flag of saying, this cannot be right if they're giving me money to cash their checks, knowing that this is my job. But the money and the love of money was speaking louder to me than anything else. So that same week, which was like 2 weeks later, I got a call from our supervisor saying that I had failed a mystery shop, and this was probably like my third mystery shop. My first one failed, my second one I passed, and then this was the third one. And he was just like, well, Antonio, I gotta let you go because you failed this mystery shop. And I was like, okay, well, cool, it's whatever. Because of course I had my own business going at the time, and my business was booming, so it didn't matter to me at all that I was being fired. So I turned the keys in, and that was it. From that point, fast forward 7 years. Within those 7 years, my business was booming. I was traveling all over the country, and even some out of the country, just making money, doing jobs. I was just living life. Also, I had become a CDL truck driver. I was traveling all over the country doing that, which I really enjoyed doing. And next thing you know, there was 2 detectives that showed up to my cousin's house saying they needed to speak to me. My cousin called me on the phone. Again, I'm a CDL truck driver by this time. She called me on the phone and she was like, hey, these guys are here for you. They want to speak to you, but they look like they're fraudulent or something. They're trying to get some information. And I was like, well, give them my phone number and we'll have a conversation to see what it is. She gave him my phone number. They called me. It sounded fraudulent, so I was just like, I blocked them and I moved on with my life. And everything took a turn 2022. My little cousin was shot. He was shot. He was shot in the head right in front of the Lee Davis Clinic by his friend, the family's friend, and I was looking for God to save his life, and unfortunately, that did not happen. He succumbed to the injuries that he had from the gunshot wound, and he passed away. From that point, I got extremely upset with God. I was just very hurt because right before that happened, the young man that shot him, this was a young man that he came over to the house. He ate at our table. He spent the night, so he was literally their friend, and I was just devastated because I felt a strong urge to go and find this young man to try to talk to him because I felt like something really bad was getting ready to happen. So for like maybe 3 or 4 days straight, I was going around the neighborhood trying to find him, just to try to talk to him to see where his head was, trying to save the young man, and that never happened. When I found out where this kid was, that's when I found out he was the one that had shot my little cousin. And what made it such a big deal to me is my older cousin, who my younger cousin that got killed, his mother, me and her are very close, and she had 6 children, and I was there with her throughout the process of having all 6 of her children, and I was in their life the whole time. So I was more of a father figure to them than a big cousin. So that thing really hit me like a ton of bricks, especially with someone that was so close to the family that he'd been over and, just having a good time with us all the time. So when that happened, we had to, of course, funeralize my cousin. I went into a deep depression. I don't even know if I ever dealt with depression or not, but I dealt with depression during that time. And I said to God, I was like, God, don't come and take anybody else close to me, and I want to go and you will not take me. I was like, don't do that. I don't like this type of pain I had never felt in my life. And I had made a decision that I will never have children if I would possibly have to feel that type of pain from losing a child. I don't want to go through that. So we had his funeral, and after that I was still upset with God. I didn't want to do church anymore. I didn't even want to be in the faith anymore, because I was just like, God, how in the world could you allow such an innocent child just to be murdered like that in cold blood, and just nothing. It was like the news media kept getting it wrong, the community kept getting it wrong. It's just like everybody kept getting it wrong and making it seem like he was a thug and everything. And I've been with him the whole 13 years of his life, so I know the type of child he was. And now all of a sudden he's a thug, and it was retaliation and all of this type of stuff. I was just over it all. So during that time, after that was over, I prayed to God one more time because I wanted to get some resolve before I made the decision, like, I'm just done with it all. And God said to me, he said, Antonio, do you trust me?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What was that moment like with God when he asked you, do you trust me? What was that? Give us a snapshot of that.
Okay, so when you say what was the moment like, what do you mean by that?
Like, did God, like, were you just at your house one day and God, said that to you, or were you in your prayer time? Like, what was the moment that God said that to you?
Okay. So, during that time, I didn't want to do people at all. So I literally I was confined to my bedroom. I was in my bedroom, and I decided, well, I'm gonna talk to God one more time about this, and then I'm just gonna be done with it. So I said, God said to me, he said, Antonio, do you trust me? And I kind of felt like it was a trick question because God knows all. So I'm sure he knew the answer before he asked me the question. So he said, do you trust me? And I said, no. And before I said no, I had to kind of think before I answered the question. I went back to Ace when I was cashing these bad checks, knowing that they were not good, and I preached trust. I told folk, how to trust in God and for how to make Him their sustainer. But when temptation came to me, I did not do the same thing I was telling other people to do. So I had to be honest with myself and God, and I told Him, no, I do not trust you. Then He said, can I take you on a journey of learning how to trust me? And I said, yes. I said yes, but I had no idea the depth of the yes when I told God yes, because it was about to get very, very, very shaky. So immediately after that, I had a friendship that was very close to me, very significant, very just close. That had ended, and it was public. So I had to kind of deal with all of the embarrassment and all that of that. And then this was all kind of in the course of a couple of months. My cousin had just passed away, and then my grandmother a few months later had passed away. And during that time when she passed, she was older, she was sickly, so I knew I was in the journey of trusting God. So instead of being upset and being hurt because she passed away, I just began to thank God for the times that I had with her. And I was like, God, I'm going to do things a little bit different now. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to do all of that. I'm just going to continue to trust you. And again, thank you for the times that you allowed me to spend with my grandmother. And I was very appreciative of that. So we have her funeral. And a couple of days after that, I came to my church, the Center for Manifestation Church, and I was talking to my spiritual mom. And I was kind of just telling her everything that I was going through, and the hurt, the pain, and the suffering that I was going through. And she said to me, Antonio, I don't know what else God has to do to get your attention, but you really need to see God in all of this. And I don't even know to this day if she realized the weight of what she said to me. It was so heavy that I had to turn my head to keep her from seeing me tear up, because that thing just hit me, and it hit me heavy. So we were probably together that day in her office for probably about 4 hours, and I left the church and was on my way to my sister's house. On my way to my sister's house, I got pulled over by a police, and I was driving, and I looked out my rearview mirror, and I saw the sirens on, I saw the lights going, and so I pulled over. And when I pulled over and I happened to look out the rearview mirror again, it was about 20 cars behind me, 20 police cars. Some of them were unmarked, some of them were police cars, some of them were sheriff cars, but it was about 20 of them. They all jumped out with guns on. I seen some of them had was U.S. Marshals on their vests. Others had they had the Fed things on. So I knew it was very serious. But I'm thinking well, what the heck is going on here? I know I ain't did nothing bad for all of this to be going on. So they got to my car, snatched me out. All of them had their guns drawn, like I was a serial killer or something. So I was so confused during this time. And then they destroyed my truck. They ripped my seats and just was going through everything. It's like I had drugs or something in the car. Didn't find anything. So they handcuffed me, put me in back of one of the cars, and they were sending me to to the Pinellas Fed Holding Jail. I think that's what it is. So I get there, and I'm sitting in a little waiting room for about 6 hours, not having a clue why I'm there. And I finally asked one of the officers, I was like, hey, why am I even here? I was like, is this a mistake or whatever? And he said, well, you're here because you had a warrant for your arrest for fraudulent activity. Now, I'm still completely blown away because I have no idea. I don't remember anything. Like, what is going on here? So after 6 hours, an officer came to get me to take me back in a little dorm area where the other prisoners were to lay down until the next morning. So I got back there, and the craziest thing happened to me. I was saying to myself, like, God, I don't know what's going on, but if this is really happening, or if whatever's getting ready to go on, please do not let this become public for everybody to see and know that I'm here or whatever. And I heard God say to me, he was like, do you trust me? And I remembered he had just asked me that weeks before, and I was just like, this is the journey. This is the journey that I'm on. And I was like, yes, God, I'm going to choose to trust you. And in that very moment, I could hear, they were walking me to the dorm by this time. And it's like I could feel the presence of the Lord walking with me and the guard that was walking me back. And I could just feel his presence, and almost like I could hear him walking with me. So that thing shot my faith up to like 10,000. So I knew my body was in this place, but my mind was completely free. I was not afraid. I was not worried. I was not in fear. I was like, I trust God. No matter what's going on, I trust God. So I went to the dorm. When I woke up the next morning, they had breakfast prepared for all of us, and this was the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. It looked like slop. And I was just like, there is no way I'm eating this. So the other prisoners were in there, and some of them were in there for murder and just other things, like some real hard stuff they were in there for. And they looked at me, everybody kept saying, hey, you got to eat, man. You got to get your strength. And I was just like, I understand all that, but I can't eat this. So all of the prisoners just started bringing me like cakes and cookies and chips and everything. And I'm just like, these people don't even know me like that. And they just bringing me all of this stuff. And I was just like, God, what is going on? And again, he said, Antonio, do you trust me? And I said, yes. So right before my very eyes, I'm seeing that God had done shifted this whole place to accommodate me being there. And like, it was so powerful to see. And right after breakfast, it was time for everybody to do their chores and clean up and stuff. And the guard had told me I was in charge of sweeping and mopping like a huge area of where my dorm was. And I started sweeping, and then there was another prisoner came by, and I talked to him later. He was going off to prison for murder. He snatched the broom from me. He's like, no, you sit down. I don't want you doing nothing. So he's beginning to sweep my area for me. And then another guy came and I got the mop. He was like, no, I'll do this. You just rest, man. And he began to sweep for him. And I'm just like, Lord, I have favor even in this place. Still not quite understanding why I'm here, but I am thankful for this because I had never experienced something like that before. And again, the entire time I'm there, people are coming to talk to me and making sure I'm okay and giving me food, and just it was amazing. And one thing that happened that it was a blessing to witness and to be a part of. There was this one guard in there. All the black guys were sitting there, was like, oh, he's real racist and he'll make your life hell, so please, like, don't go over that mess with him, man, because you can even ask him a simple question and he's just gonna go off or try to put you in a hole or whatever the case may be. So I was like, okay. But after all of this I had been seeing God do, and I was just like, I'm gonna exercise my faith and just go ask this man a question. So I told one of the prisoners, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go ask him a question. He was like, nah, man, I'm trying to tell you, like, don't do that. Like, he gonna make your life hell, man. Like, just don't do it. And I said, I'm just gonna go do it anyway. So I went up there and then I asked the man the question, and he at first looked at me like he was disgusted. And within seconds, like his whole demeanor on his face changed. And he was just like, you just came in last night, right? I was like, yes, sir. He was like, let me go on and help you to see what's going on. From going from disgust to now wanting to help me, this man helped me. He was for maybe like an hour because all my documents was wrong, and he didn't like nothing that was in the system, so he didn't know while I was there or anything. And while he's helping me, I'm looking at the other prisoners, and they looking at me like I'm weird. Like, how is this even happening? Like, this man he don't like nobody black. He don't even deal with the blacks, but he was assisting me. So he was the one that told me that I was in here for fraud and a situation that happened at Ace about 6.5 years ago, and he was telling me how it was getting close to the limitation part, so they had to go ahead and press charges if they wanted to press charges or pursue charges by that time. So when I got done talking to him and he helping me out, I went back to my little dorm area, and the guys was like, bro, who are you? Like, who are you? Because this man would have never done that for anybody. He don't do it for anybody. He hate everybody in here. And that was just a blessing to me to know that this man has a history of not liking blacks and all this type of stuff, but God changed his heart to help me. So that was a very powerful moment for me. So again, about an hour or two later, there was 2 detectives that came to pick me up, to take me down to Tampa's courthouse, the Fed courthouse. And I got there, and the judge was there, the prosecutor, everybody. So they were pretty much running down everything that was getting ready to happen and what I had to do and my charges and all of this. So they had seized all of my money. They had frozen my bank account. I couldn't get into none of my bank accounts. I couldn't spend any money. I couldn't do anything. So it was just me. I didn't have nothing. I didn't even know they had access to all of that stuff, but they shut down everything. So I'm in court, and the whole while I'm in court, I'm still saying again, like, Lord, please do not let people know that I'm in here. While I was in the jail, I was calling my sister. I was calling everybody I knew I could call, and nobody was answering the phone. But I'm thinking, like, Lord, don't let my family know I'm in here, because they going to judge. And don't let my church family know I'm in here, because I don't know how that's going to be. Like, just let me go through this process and just deal with it by myself, and that'll be that. And again, God said 2 things to me. He said, number 1, Antonio, do you trust me? And again, I was like, yes, I do trust you. And then right after that, he said, Antonio, I'm going to get you over people. I'm going to have to get you over the opinions of people. And I was just like, Lord, this whole trusting thing is rough, but I'm in it, and I'm willing to go all the way. So again, we're here in court, and the judge says, Antonio, so you was working at Ace about 6.5 years ago. You cashed all of these checks. The fee for cashing the checks, you giving out the money, and all of this came up to about $50,000. Now, mind you, because I was so blinded by the love of money, I didn't even realize it was that much. It was maybe about 12 people that came in, but I don't remember how big the checks were or anything. But when this man told me that, I just was like, whoa. And of course, I don't think I remembered about that amount either, because I didn't see 50,000. Like they were kind of passing me some money, but that wasn't nowhere near no $50,000. So I was just kind of confused about that part. But what was weird to me, and how I knew what became real to me, is when God said that I would never leave you nor forsake you. While I was at my cousin's funeral, the feds were in the audience taking pictures. When I got to court, I saw these pictures where they were in the audience and in the funeral taking pictures of me. While I am at my cousin's candlelight vigil, all of this stuff, they are taking pictures. They were there the entire time. A couple of months later, when my grandmother passed away, they are at my grandmother's funeral taking pictures of me the entire time. These people have been watching me for God knows how long, and I had no idea. Okay, so at court, and I'm seeing all of this stuff, and I'm just blown away. And they told me that I would have to be on probation. I couldn't go, but like so far out of Florida. I can't go to Tallahassee. I can't go to Miami. So it was just a couple of areas that I just, I had to stay in a certain district. And I said to them, I said, well, I'm a truck driver, so I don't know how that will work. And the judge looked at me and said, Antonio, I'm going to do something that I've never done in my 30 years on this bench. He said, I'm going to accommodate you and allow you to travel all over the states doing your trucking job. And he said, Antonio, I want you to take this as a privilege because I don't want to do it. I have never done it before, and I probably will never do it again. But for you, I'm going to allow you to continue working as much as you need to until it's time for you to come back to court. And I was just like, okay. And I'm like, okay, Lord, that's you've touched his heart. Okay. He said, just keep in mind by the time that I come back to court that I might have to have ankle monitor on my leg, and then I would have to be subject to house arrest. And I was just like, oh, I don't want any one of those, but we'll have to go with it. So because I had no money, I could not have access to my bank accounts. They refused to open them up. So because I guess they were still investigating all that stuff, so I couldn't get anything. So I had to give up my apartment, and I had to move in with my sister. My sister only had a 3-bedroom house, and it was for her, her daughter, and her son. So I had to sleep in a little blow-up bed in her den area. And at first when I was going there, I was just like, Lord, I literally just came from living on top of the world, making my own money, traveling the country, just living life, to now I have to be on the floor on the blow-up bed in my sister's home. And again, I was saying to God, I was like, God, I do trust you, but please don't let nobody know what's going on. Before I know it, I had family members calling around each other. Hey, you know, Antonio, he done been picked up. He done been busted on a PPP fraud and just some of the craziest stuff. And that stuff affected me deeply, and I was so upset. Like, these were the people in my family that I had helped do so much for, and I was there for, and all of this stuff. And I was just so disappointed because I was like, I was ready, like, I'm finna go confront them and all of this type of stuff. And God said, don't you open your mouth. He said, don't you say a word. I even had one cousin that she bet my brother and said, the next time you see your brother, he gonna have a beep on his leg. And what did she say? Oh, the next time you see your brother, he gonna have a ankle monitor on his leg because he got caught for PPP fraud. And every time they were just like spewing all this venom on my name, God allowed me to hear it, or it came back to me some type of way. And I'm just like, God, you want me to know this, but I can't say nothing? He said, no. He said, you keep them covered in prayer, because I have to get you over the opinions of others. So that's what I did. So I would walk into a room sometimes, and I can feel that I was just a topic of conversation, but I had to walk in there and still show love, and still, like, whatever was asking me, I would still make it happen, knowing y'all just destroyed my name. But I was on a journey and still am on the journey, so I had to do what God said. So about 5 months had gone by. By this time, my job had got affected because now this charge was starting to show up. So I had to stop trucking. I went a couple of months or maybe 3 months without having any employment. So not only was I sleeping on my sister's in my sister's den at her house, I couldn't contribute anything. Then of course I had my dog, so it was like my sister's taking care of me and my dog, and I'm so grateful to her because she didn't have to do any of that stuff, and she never complained about it. My sister is definitely a ride or die for her brothers, but I was just so it was rough because I didn't want to be a burden on her or her children, but my sister definitely was a trooper for me, and I would always be grateful to her for that. So, okay, five months passed now. It was time to go back to court for the actual sentencing. Like, this is what it's going to be from now on. So, I get to court, and this time I'm in front of a new judge. So I'm nervous. I don't know what's getting ready to happen, and the judge reads everything off to me of what happened, and he says to me, he said, "Antonio, I want you to look over here. You see that bailiff?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, I see the bailiff." He said, "That bailiff, his main job today was to escort you out of here in handcuffs and send you off to jail. But he said, for some reason, I changed my mind." He said, "Antonio, all my paperwork, everything, you were being prosecuted today." But he said, "I changed my mind." He said, "I don't know, when you walked in, when I walked in and saw you, I was just like, yeah, I want to give this guy a second chance." And then he said to me, he said, "Antonio, every year I give about 5 criminals a chance." He said criminals. He was like, "I give about 5 criminals a chance." And he said, "That's it for the whole year." He said, "Everybody else, I just send them on off to prison or send them off to jail, whatever." But he said, "Only 5. And he said, "In my 20-something odd years of being a judge and being on this bench, you have made history because you're the 6th person that I'm going to give a second chance to." He said, "I've already met my quota for the year, but I'm going to give you that second chance, so you will not be going to prison today." So I'm sitting there, I was like, "Okay, Lord, I'm trusting you." So you're literally, excuse me, you're literally working a miracle before my very eyes. And while he was saying all of that, I was like, "Okay, Lord, now please do something about this doggone ankle monitor." And it's almost like the man was hearing me thinking, because then he said, "Antonio, you will have an ankle monitor on your leg, and you will be on house arrest." And he said, "The only place you can go is to work, to church, and back home." And I was looking at him, and I just gave him like a little sigh, like, ugh. The prosecutors, it wasn't my lawyer, it wasn't anybody else. The prosecutors, and from my understanding, the prosecutors is the one that's going to make sure that any criminal in the case is getting the full extent of the law. But the prosecutors is the one that stepped in. It was like, "No, we don't want that for Antonio. We do not want that. We do not want him on house arrest, and we do not want him on an ankle monitor. So we're gonna move to get that taken off because we don't want that." And I am completely shocked because the prosecutors don't do that. But it was them that stepped up on my behalf and said no. So not only did I not go to prison, but God granted my request with not being on probation or house arrest, and not having an ankle monitor on my leg. So today I can go anywhere I want to go, and I don't have to have be an ankle monitor or have to call anybody to tell them where I'm going. So I'm extremely grateful to God for that. So the judge, he gave me $50,000 restitution. with $200 a month. So because of this charge now, I had to take a break from trucking because this charge kept coming up. So it was being a little bit more challenging for me to get jobs. So I applied for Salita's house, and I wasn't the one that was going to be picked for the job, but God spoke to the CEO and was like, I want to give this young man a chance. So that's what she did. And I'm very grateful to the CEO of Salita's house because she gave me an opportunity of a lifetime, and she doesn't judge me, doesn't look at me differently. And she has been an amazing part of this process since I began to know her. And I just want to give a quick testimony before I go. About 2 weeks ago, I was leaving from Salita's house, going home, and when I got there, was about 7 cars of police there. And I'm like, well, what's going on while y'all are here? And they were there to getting ready to arrest me and revoke my probation because they were not seeing I was making payments every month toward my restitution. And I was just like, Lord, I know this is not right, but I'm not going to panic. I trust in you. I went into my apartment and I was able to show my probation officer, because she was there as well, that my payments, I had been making my payments on time every month, and that is what saved me. And I was just like, Lord, if I would have panicked or not had the trust in God, like I could have been arrested and sent off, but I was able to keep my cool and trust in God to know that this cannot be right. So even in these little small tests, always trust in God because it would always work out for your good. And one of the last things is I had gotten everybody else, so they got everybody else that was involved. So all these people that was bringing me these checks or whatever that I cashed for, all of them went to prison, every last one of them. And it was only right that I go as well. And even from my bloodline, my father is in prison on 5 life sentences. My brother from my father is in a prison now, and because of the hand of the Lord is on me, that it just wasn't my fate. God was just not going to allow that to happen, which I'm extremely grateful for. So if you look at my bloodline, this was supposed to happen, but I am now free talking to you all now. So that's just a whole nother thing in itself that I'm grateful to God about. But
I have a question.
yes.
If you can leave our audience with one thing about trusting God, what would it be?
If I could leave them with one thing, that's it. Just listen. No matter what, trust in God. Just keep your trust in Him. And even when it does not look the best, trust Him anyway, because at the end it will all work out in your favor.